Hey all, hope you're doing well. I'm here on the lower keys again. This time I'm on No Name Key. And I want to share with you another really cool tree I found. This is also a Florida threatened species, and this one is, it and its relative have a lot of human uses. I'm going to discuss these. But as always, what I'm saying is for ethnobotanical knowledge. It's not a recommendation. You forage at your own risk. So the tree that I found that's really cool over here is Wild Dilly. And so Wild Dilly, its Latin name is Menilcara jamiqui, also known as Menilcara bahamensis. And this is a really cool plant. You can extract a gum from it. The fruits, when they're aged properly, can be eaten. Apparently they taste like a pear. But again, this has a lot of latex, and you really want to get that out. If you look at this one that I stumbled upon right here, you can just see that latex pouring out of there. So especially if you were to have a latex allergy, I would strongly recommend against messing around with this plant. Now, Wild Dilly does have a domestic relative. That domestic relative is Sapodilla. Sapodilla is Menilcara zapota, and it's cultivated in a large part of the world. Now, in particular, Sapodilla actually has a bit of a history on No Name Key. So after the Civil War, a lot of immigrants from the Bahamas came out and engaged in various practices. Some of them would have had their own gardens. Other ones would have been engaged in sponge diving. A ton of Bahamians were engaged in the wrecking industry, which was huge in the Keys. And at the time, No Name Key had a lot of Bahamian settlers. But the settler I'm going to talk about today isn't a Bahamian. He was married to a Bahamian, but was actually a Russian who immigrated in 1827. His name was Nicholas Matcovich, and he was a deeply gifted farmer. He actually, when you had the overseas railroad coming in, he got a lot of attention for his work with tropical fruits. And his homestead on No Name Key was actually valued at one point at least as about $1,000, which is incredible when you compare that the next most valuable homestead on the island, or next most valuable home on the island, was $400. Now, Matcovich, he spent 51 years of his life on the island. Much of it was as a hermit. His wife, not so much of the hermit kind of gal. She spent a lot of her life on Key West. Like I said, Matcovich was a farmer. He engaged in the cultivation of sapodillas, which, like I said, was very impressive. He was a lone man operating on a bit of a frontier, very much a backwater. And not only that, he was doing much of his work alone and into his old age. And that was despite multiple hurricanes where you had seawater inundate and damage a lot of his lands. Now, Wild Dilly is somewhat salt tolerant, but even still, it was apparently enough to put a real damper on Mr. Matcovich's cultivation. Matcovich was described as a very hospitable man, a very kind man. When I was reading about him, in a history of the Keys that I'll have referenced in this video, everything that was written spoke beautifully of him. However, I gotta mention, because this is the 19th century, and in the 19th century, people were very accepting of some wild behavior. But Matcovich very much must have valued his privacy, because he used to rig guns out apparently on his property with tripwires. So I'm going out on No Name Key. Hopefully life goes well. I don't get taken out by some 19th century firearm, but I think it's been a while, so I'm thinking I'm good. Anywho, I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, I guess one more thing I want to say is I'm going to keep in all these videos focusing a lot on the natural world, but I feel really good about bringing up Mr. Matcovich because I also want to bring in that human dimension. We do live in nature, we do influence the land, we add a great deal of really interesting stories out here. And so it's nice to bring up maybe more neglected figures, less known figures like Mr. Matcovich. And like I said, I hope you'll enjoy more of this stuff as time goes on. Anyway, all take care. Bye-bye.